Okay, I just got the nod. I got the finger, the right kind of finger. This is almost right when we're starting very close to time, and that's never happened before. Welcome everyone. This is New York Writers Workshop at Underland Gallery. I'm Tim Tomlinson. This is a wonderful reading series that we love putting on. We love our colleagues here at Underland, Hannah Salyer and Maxim, who's recuperating from a gig last night, but his spirit is here. And we always want to thank them for offering us this fabulous, charming space in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, for a very good price. I don't want to share that price because I also want everybody to donate very heavily before leaving. And I'm going to violate my wife's admonition. We're here despite Facebook. I know we're on Facebook Live, but we keep on getting hit by these bots that are taking our announcements down, saying that we're either violating community standards or we're putting up something offensive. Now, when it's work from my own stuff, that's offensive. But the rest of the stuff is really illuminating and engaging. And we just don't understand. So we may not have as many people here tonight that we had hoped for, because one by one, they started stripping websites that had the announcement. And I just hope that this goes through to somebody like Mr. Zuckerberg, and you give a look at the algorithm that just seems to be assassinating good community stuff. That said, here we are, and this is our final event of the spring. We had to postpone an event in March for a number of reasons, and we're going to put that on in the fall when here I am committing Hannah and Maxim to a fall series. But if that flies, we'll be back here September, October, and November for a series of 3, and we'll put on the night of Palestinian readers, poets and writers, either in September or October. So we're working on that. Let's see. Oh, and then, next month we ordinarily do something, but we're going to Kathmandu. So New York Writers Workshop in Kathmandu. We still have a couple of spaces. The program itself is growing in this incredibly fantastic way. We are so international. We have people coming in poets and writers coming in from Panama, South Africa, Poland, Greece, Armenia. I'm probably forgetting, are you coming? We might have 2 people from Armenia. Actually, I think we have 3 from Armenia. Australia, and of course the region. So a lot of people coming up from India and a whole bunch of Nepalese writers. And we'll do 4 days of conference and workshop, and then 2 days of the festival, all within the city of Kathmandu. And then we shove off to the lakefront, and finally from the lakefront over to the National Forest before coming back to Kathmandu. So that's May 22nd. We still have a couple of spaces available, fantastic accommodations, and a great group of people convening. This will be our 3rd international conference. We've done Athens in Greece, and we've done Sardinia. Sardinia in particular was a big success. I remember we landed back in New York about 2 days before the announcements of COVID. So we kind of just got in on that window. And now we're back. Tonight we have 2 wonderful writers with us, Zilka Joseph and Aida Zilelian. And they will read in that order. So we have 2 features, but we're doing something different tonight. We haven't done this before, but we have an open mic. So tonight we have several readers who will get up on the open mic. They know that they can do 2 poems, or a poem and a song, or 2 poems and a song, and that they have 5 minutes. So we're looking forward to hearing their work, and I'll announce the first reader in a minute. We'll have 2 open mic readers, and then we'll do the first feature. We'll go back to open mic, and should anybody in the audience feel motivated because of the excellence of the earlier work, you might jump in and get on the open mic. The list is still open, and then we'll close out with Aida. I encourage everybody to visit our website, New York Writers Workshop at weebly.com, and you'll notice there a donate button, very important button. Click that, do the right thing. We're a not-for-profit organization, so we do really thrive on the assistance from our community. Like us on Facebook, even if Facebook doesn't. And we do have a new page because our old page was obliterated. We got whacked on something, and little by little we're reconstructing a page. We had something like 4,500 people, and now we have maybe 600. So this broadcast goes out internationally. So we hope to have our usual people looking in from Australia and the Philippines and Singapore. And if Hawaii and Arizona, if you people do tune in, please say hello and let us know where you're watching from. And let's see, is there anything else I'm missing? Oh, I already slammed Facebook, so we can go on. So I'm hoping that we have offensive, shocking material tonight, and maybe Douglas can provide that. Douglas, are you going to read first?
It's Dee Dee reading.
Oh, Dee Dee's reading first. Okay, so
whatever.
we have Dee Dee first, and then we'll be followed by Catherine Ventura.
No, it's followed by, yeah.
Okay, we're almost professional, so we're moving back. Now, the first time we did a trip abroad, we went to Sardinia. We had 2 women from Singapore on the trip. And if you know anything about Singapore and Singaporeans, they know how to put things together in perfect order.
Oh.
And there are a couple of organizations that we affiliate with here in Manhattan. That just they're professional. Everything works perfectly. And so at the end of the trip, we were in a coach going back to the airport, and I told these 2 women, I was really sorry for all the chaos, all the mashugana, and I know that they're accustomed to everything working in Singapore, and they said, "No, thank God you did it like New York does it." We appreciate the chaos. We can't stand all that order. So by dumb luck, we had the right people from Singapore. Okay, so our first reader tonight will be Dee Dee Champagne, a face on the scene for a few years. And take it away, Dee Dee.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. It's just an honor being here. I still remember playing CBGBs in the 80s.
Wow.
Yes.
Yay.
Hanging out at the Pyramid Club. I was actually there a few weeks ago, and the guy said to me, he goes, "Oh, I bet you were downstairs." I said, "Oh yeah, I was downstairs doing the dinny winny." Anyway, I'm so happy to be here and read my poetry, which I've been writing poetry. I was telling, I think it was Doug, in college in 1978. And they turned to songs. So I'm going to read this first poem that I actually have in my book, Life of a Kalamata. Please allow me to share. She felt like she slept a journey in order to find her worth. It was like testing out the watermelon. She even watched a magician pull scarves from her pocket for some healing. The rattling began in her stomach after she swallowed a pill that seemed kind of small, but the shoe fit, and she let its ego go and do all the work. That's right, and now she knows every petal and how to sharpen every wish. Her heart line and her headline come together. Nature plays no part in hurrying, for there has never been any pity on the grounds that she walks on. She throws her head back while color planning. Which ones get along? Which ones need extra care? Space arranged like blue jay ways as her hands dig into the earth like love letters, staring out of the window because it all makes sense. Thank you. Now I'm going to sing a song which is from my CD, The Essayist. This is my painting here, okay? I used to do that for fun during having my poetry and music parties in my college days. So this is the song called Diving Bell. Glad to be like knockout roses. I fold a pile of linen. The ink dries on the pages. The night to me arrives through those closed curtains for a diving bell, genius and razor thin. I hold a full lotus pose underneath my skin, genius and razor thin. I hold a full lotus pose underneath my skin. A skirt cut 3 inches above the knee is the sweet spot. Like knockout roses, I'll see you on the dance floor. The night to me arrives through those closed curtains for a diving bell, genius and razor thin. I hold a full lotus pose underneath my skin, genius and razor thin. I hold a full lotus pose underneath my skin. Ah, 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 I saw my very first flower. I saw my very first flower, and you were standing there. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. I love that idea of the full lotus beneath the skin. That's where mine is as well. And I picture Julie Andrews doing that song. We should live long enough. Thank you so much, Dee. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And next we have Catherine.
No,
Oh.
I told you, you asked me.
Next we have Dita. Why don't you come up and say hello to the crowd and take care of the business?
No, that's okay. Just say it's Doug.
Doug, come on up. Entertain us.
Hey everybody, how's it going? How are you all?
Good.
Cool. So yeah, this is a really interesting venue. I haven't been here before. I've done a lot of performing around Brooklyn, but never here. So really an honor to be here. I'm going to do 2 poems. This one was published in a New Jersey publication called Soup Can Magazine last year. It's called In the Heat of the City. Dizzying delirium, decorated decadence diminishes depth. Trespass on the tight walk, teetering on the brink, the rope extends, treble in the baritone, test of patience, cognizance, relation to relation, people pile into train cars, eye contact, negligible technology, tightening its noose, choking, 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 cough, cough, crash. Coffee spills on freshly pampered shoes, polished to perceived perfection. The pressed shirts adorning businessmen belie status. Crystal-coated watches flash, refracting light, bouncing off eyeglasses, scanning digital pages, digging deep, troves of information, infused brains, knowledge nervously gained, pressure cooker of time, few aged like fine wines, salt and pepper follicles can indicate, distinguish, death dawns dutifully, dynamite match set. Thank you. This one is a bit of a crowd pleaser. I've done this one a lot. It's called Trailblazers. Forge ahead in the fire of your wisdom, for one can be part of the greater kingdom. Iambic pentameter taught in the classroom, Shakespearean soliloquy recited in the bedroom, internal battles fought, waged on turfs without Nerf guns, instead slinging puns and more puns, wordplay exacting, reactive, chemistry set explodes, beakers and test tubes excite experimentation, students maestros of their own destinies, a no to standardization, a yes to augmentation, a yes to the wildfire of ideas, a no to the digital noose that constricts its hold on unsuspecting populace. Necklaces glimmer in the starlight. First sign of life we see tonight, distant planets in the moon glow, a magnificent spectacle. Examine with your monocle, science not put on a pedestal, the holy chants of Ginsberg, the talk of hipsterdom is normalcy, a movement away from truancy, kids not locked up but plugged in, their minds a wasteland of the residue of Twitter feeds. A yes to synergy and synchronization, a yes to dovetailing interests, bisecting the heart, its atria pump like the dancers who sway in interpretive strut, for King Tut will be resurrected. Beat poets yell from rooftops, Rastafarians with beatboxes, cordon off sidewalks, producing palpable parties that hum with electricity, elasticity, step in with geometry, guess, ping pong into one another, forging connection, scent detection, aromas in the air from baked pies, drown out the smell of rain-slick city streets. Thumbs up go the critics, the groundswell. Thumbs down goes the audience. Ideology asymmetrical, some ideas detestable, open hearts desirable. A yes to synthesis of thought. Prometheus took the fire but had his regrets, making bets against the gods and losing. Zeus angry, exacting his will on denizens of earth, a dearth of mirth. An article goes to press during recess, and a ship capsizes nearby. One action bleeding into another. Don't put a muzzle over conviction. Diction always rules the day. A fiction to dream otherwise. Away with the manifestation of strife. Forge ahead in the wildfires of your life. Thank you.
I just want our neighbors to still like us. I'm gonna turn down
Oh, okay. Sure.
just like
Doug does that all the time.
it shakes their room. Do you want to test it?
How's that?
Can you all hear?
Is that good back there?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Doug. No dearth of mirth here. I'm so glad that this is captured on audio and video because there's so many phrases I want to steal from you. I'll let you know when I do it. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I need to consult my notes. All the way from Calcutta through Michigan, is that right? So tonight we have with us the poet Zilka Joseph. Zilka is an internationally published poet who has authored 6 collections and been nominated for awards such as the Penn Award, American Book Awards, Griffin, and Pushcart prizes. Her work is influenced by Indian and Western cultures and her B'nai Israel roots. She won a Zell Fellowship, the Michael Gutterman Award, and the Elise Choi Lee Scholarship from the University of Michigan. She is the winner of a notable Best Indie Book Award, and 2 of her books were forward Indies finalists. Her new book is Sweet Malida, Memoirs of a B'nai Israel Woman. She teaches creative writing. She is also a manuscript advisor and a mentor to writers in her community. You can visit her on zilkajoseph.com. We bought, I think, the book before this one, and we fought over it, and still do. Zilka's a wonderful poet, and we're so glad to have you here for the first time at Underland.
Hello, everyone. It's just so exciting to be here in Brooklyn for the first time, and to just this wonderful honor of being invited by Tim and Aida, who I met many years ago at the Matwala South Asian Women Writers, not Women Writers, South Asian Writers Festival, and Tim had organized a wonderful, wonderful event at NYU that I will never forget. So I'm just super honored to be here and to be reading with Aida. And thank you all for gracing us here today. And so I'm going to read from 2 of my books. One of them being, thank you. One of them being In Our Beautiful Bones. This book came out during COVID, so it never got the love that I hoped it would get. So I always try and read a little bit of this. But mostly I'm reading this poem that Tim had put a few lines from the beginning of this poem on Facebook. So I'm very proud to read it here. It is in form. It's called an abecedarian. Many of you have studied this form. And I tried to be extra smart by making it a double abecedarian. So the first line starts with an A and ends with an A. And then it goes on all the way to Z. And it was inspired by this absolutely brilliant poet called M. Norsway Philip. And if you haven't heard about her, just look her up online. So it's based on the discourse on the logic of language. So I've stolen some of the lines, not lines, but some of the effects from her. And it's called A to Z of Foreign Anguish. A is for anguish, says my mummy tongue, my lingo, la la la. But English is my foreign father tongue, daddy lang, blab, blab, blab. Colonists with your white gaze told our stories with classic demagoguery, tyranny, manifest destiny, excuses. You forged evil tales to transform us into demons, crushed truths with vile, flippant lies. What about us? How you ravaged us? Scepter and staff grind down our culture. Kings of erosion and erasure, how long has your terror ruled? Your knives at our children's throats. Who washes Indians out of every picture? Who conquered our lands crying, I just come in peace? Guns in your hearts, greed in your DNA. The Raj kept us as slaves in our own land, took our tea, spices, jewels, broke our back, lashed and tortured us. What's in your crown? Our Kohinoor. O cruel masters, recorders of the inferior race. Our clever Sahib and Mame, natives? Like insects you labeled us, with fine calipers, condescension. Oppressor, the nightmare still thrives, the hate systems that never go. Pain is embedded in our bones. You poisoned our wells. Now you dump questions on us. You teach us civility. Listen to our Q&A, our AMQ, right out of our mouths. You shove the father tongue down our savage and shithole countries' throats, destroyed histories, literatures, tongues, made us ugly in our own eyes, made us hate ourselves, split us, shattered us, turned Hindu against Muslim, Muslim against Hindu. Viceroys and priests, you ruled, you hunger converted us. Oh, holy reverend white man, was sweet Jesus's face fair? He was a humble, dark-skinned Jew. Xanax, will it help? When we invite you to our open table, you vex yourself. You cry, where your current foreign anguish, that we can sway zeitgeist, world biz, karma, got heart, got English, chutzpah, pizzazz. Really good today, especially because. All right, and now I'm going to introduce my very, very new book called Sweet Malida. And I want to tell you a little bit about this book and why it's so special. India has several Jewish communities. And the Ben Israel community, the one that I belong to, is one of the oldest. And there's a lot of history, there's mythology, there's several theories around this particular community. So I have written a number of food poems about the food of Maharashtra, and my grandmother and my mother, and making all these different dishes and playing with sound and smell, and many of them got published. So I was beginning to draw them in together, and I realized that I had all these wonderful stories that I hadn't told about this community. So they were two ships from the Middle East, probably Judea back then, were shipwrecked on the west coast of India. And 7 men and 7 women, or 7 people, as the story goes, survived. They were saved by the villagers. And they stayed in these villages and pressed oil. They were called oil pressers. So they were called Shanwar Delis. Shanwar meaning Saturday oil pressers, because they took the Shabbat off. And nobody knew about this community till about the 16th, 17th century, when missionaries began to move around the villages, and they found that this little community, though very Indianized, had kept some of the basic tenets of Judaism. And the only prayer they knew was the Shema Israel, and just a few other small things. So that's the background of it. But I'm going to first start with the poem called Sweet Malida, which is the title poem. And the other thing I'd like to say is that Prophet Elijah is very, very special to this community, because he's supposed to have landed on this particular rock, you know, when he went up in this fiery chariot. But he stopped and visited India. And he visited this particular village in Maharashtra. And it's very revered, this rock, because it has this gash in it and this horse hoof print. So people go there and they do worship, the Thanksgiving service, and it's called Ilyahu Hanabi, just for your information. But the malida, the rice platter that is used, is this simplified version of a dish that we all eat at home. Sweet malida, a mix of water, softened, flattened rice, sugar, dried fruits and nuts, was a dish made for Shabbat, for breaking our fasts. Cooling, light on the palate and to the body and the spirit, it was welcome in the heat of day or night. We have many foods in common with our Muslim, Christian and Hindu friends, and we often celebrated together their festival or ours. I relished particularly fresh coconut, the regional staple, its milk or its flesh added to almost every dish. But this was to me the best way to eat it, finely grated by my mother's hands, left unsweetened and sprinkled haphazardly on the malida, juicy threads with a fleck of stubborn brown kernel here and there that sometimes crunched in your teeth like sand, and you winced and swallowed it, knowing that there was no simpler or purer form than that. And the next book I'm going to read is called The Angels of Gonkan. And there are so many gaps in this story and so many different theories about their arrival and survival. So this poem, I thought, how did the villagers save these people? What condition were they in? How did these people adapt to this strange land? I mean, they had nothing. They had nothing. So I've called it The Angels of Konkan. Navgaon, Maharashtra is where it is believed the ancestors of the Ben Israel were shipwrecked and where a ruined cemetery exists today. From tumbled sands and shattered bark, blurred shadows dragged us. Where were we? They dried our battered bodies, bound our wounds, clothed us in woven cotton, fed us warm food with their hands that we could not name then. And as Elijah ate of bread and flesh the ravens gave him, so also we ate and drank of the cool water brought from brooks. Who were these healers? Then in fields of grass near the sea, we buried our dead, the ones we found. Where are they now? Set gravestones to remember. The villagers let us pray as we wished, and giving thanks to Adonai, learn the craft of oil pressers. Or did our tribe know it already? Ate what our laws permitted, and praising this vast green land, its rich soil, its rivers, its ghats, its green, its fish and fowl, we blessed the hearts and the living hands of the villagers who saved us. And one of the theories is that Ben Israel are one of the lost tribes. There are several other Jewish communities that have popped up in more recent times in Andhra Pradesh and in Northeast. And many of them also have stories of them being perhaps one of the lost tribes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read maybe one more little food poem, and then I'm going to read part of a long poem called Leaf Boat, where I talk about even my journey to the US. And then I recollect the stories of my grandparents. My grandfather used to be a doctor during the British Raj, and he fought for the British and was sent to Palestine and Egypt and actually, not healed, but attended to the men in the trenches who were wounded. So it goes back and then the stories come back again. So I'm going to do one more food poem. How can I not do one more food poem? All right, quick ones, short one. This one again is in form, and it's a very, very fun form to use. If you've never tried it before, do try it. It's called the pantoum, or the pantoum as we say. So the repeating lines are fun because half the work is done in a way, but it's so interesting and mysterious the way the echoes come back and back and back. And this one is a very interesting dish called halwa. All of you know halwa. Who doesn't know halwa? And each region has its own version. So I kind of think that they knew a different version in Judea way back then, when 175 BCE or 70 CE, who knows when they came. But they knew a different halwa there. But here they learned a different halwa. So I kind of play with that a little bit. And it's called pantoum for chik cha halwa. And chik is the white, the juice that comes out after you've soaked the wheat and for 3 days, and then it oozes out, and it's hard work. It's a lot of work. And I've actually seen my mother and grandmother do this once. So I thought about that. All right. Bantum Fachik Cha Halwa. Whose hands worked hard to make this halwa? Whose hands soaked the mounds of wheat? How we waited, 3 days and nights. How chick was extracted from grain. Whose hands soaked the mounds of wheat? Knew each step of the recipe? How to squeeze the chick from grain to slowly boil the thick beads of juice? Did they learn each step of the recipe from a new culture, from a new land, to slowly boil the thick beads of juice? Did they miss loved ones left behind from a new culture, from a new land? Did they taste their ancestors' food? Did they miss loved ones left behind, those lost in the deluge, shipwrecked? Did their tongues taste their ancestors' food? Was this so different from sweets of home? Those lost in the deluge and wreck would never come back to life. So very different from sweets of home. Sugar, coconut milk, colored pink, thickening. Those lost in the deluge, shipwrecked. Would their spirits whisper old recipes? Sugar, rose tinted, coconut milk thickening, tired arms, beaded breath, silky cubes cooling. Do spirits whisper old recipes? In a new land, new life, new history, tired arms, bated breath, silky cubes cooling, sprinkled with poppy seed, slivered nuts. New land, new life, new history, food and ways you made your own, sprinkled with poppy seed, slivered nuts. How we waited, how we waited. The food and ways you made your own, your hands working hard to make this halwa. So that's I've provided a lot of information in this book about not just the Venezuelan history, but there's a reading list at the back for people who want to study more recipes and history and culture. So I do hope you'll take a look. And I'm going to end with an extract from a long poem that sort of is in the middle of this book and it's called Leaf Boat. I want to say thank you once again to everybody and to anybody listening, Lizzie, Packer, maybe she said she would listen.
Robin
Anybody in
Hemsley.
Australia, yes,
Oh, great.
Sally Breen, maybe, I don't know, Indy, who knows, and people in India and anywhere else in the world. Thank you for listening. All right, so I'm going to jump in with this section. And it's a series of little fragmented sections. So it brings back India, my travel, my grandparents, and the whole world. In the Sundarbans, the sun is sinking, mangrove roots like ribs, fields and fields of fiddler crabs. Fishermen light kerosene torches on the deck, lock themselves in below. The boat rocks and tilts. The hurricane lantern shakes. Tiger claws break through the wood. The widow's village is full. Where are the fishermen, then honey-gatherer husbands? I shall fear no evil in this valley of tides. We walk through the shadow of the unknown world. My third eye is the unsleeping captain of the dark. Draw the curtain. It is time, it is time. One little mouse did not escape, though it tried. Prepare for landing. Sometimes mice can turn into birds. In New York, his ship pulled out, Dad said. Above the roar of the engines, they shouted to him. This is my New York connection. My dad sailing out of New York Harbor, and the agent shouting to him that a girl child was born. So I'm going to just read that line again. In New York, his ship pulled out, Dad said. Above the roar of the engines, they shouted to him, a girl child. West to east, the planet turns. I was born Thursday in monsoon rain. Nighttime, East Coast time. In Bombay, a baby opens her eyes. Solomon, my father, king of the engine room, king of the house, king of our destiny. So young, my parents, feeding pigeons in Trafalgar Square, how they sail the world. Next year in Jerusalem, Granny prayed, and safe return, dear husband, from Egypt's trenches. Soldiers fall all around him. Some of her letters survive, but the photos from Palestine are gone, are gone. Multifoliate lotuses open to the sun. In Bombay, how many Shemas did she say? Come back, Erin, from Britain's war. Young Hannah in a white sari at his side. Oh, Hannah of Bandra, mother of 3 small sons, your 5-year-old daughter dead in her grave. Hannah alone, selling all your gold. Your journey just beginning. Fragments of letters sent to Hannah in 1917. He drew maps, 2 diagrams in his own hand. Where are they now? My third eye is the unsleeping captain of the dark. In my dream, the whales are singing. Check the dorsal. This is how we identify migrants. In ancient times, my ancestors sailed east, it is said. West to east, they sailed. Safe journey to the other side. The 3 ships wrecked on the Konkan coast. What star, what moon saved them? Who drowned in salt? Who breathed the sand? Who flailed, who flew, who fell, who swam? Who dived, whose eyes turned to pearls? Who sang to the angels of the deep? In my dream, the whales are singing. Check the dorsal. This is how we identify migrants. My ancestors once a village on the Konkan coast. My third eye is the unsleeping captain of the dark. Look up. Did David's star keep them alive? Shabbat lights flicker in villages. Look, the anchor is lifting. Oh, where to now? I am so tired. I am so tired. See, the stars are forming strange new words. A map, a compass, and you beside me. My body, a leaf boat, lamp floated on water. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zilka. That was kind of like National Geographic meets A Passage to India. Beautiful work. And I'm so, it just made me so happy that I'm going there. And just can't wait and get down to your area. You know, afterwards we'll have Q&A with features for about 15 minutes. So many questions arise from especially that epic journey. So looking forward to that. And I should also say that we have a table in the back room with books for sale. So you can pick up Sweet Malida, and you can pick up Aida's new novel, and a couple of other things. Oh, and Hannah's books. You have your books back there? Yes, Hannah's books. Right. This is a woman producing so much so fast. You better get it while you can. Okay, so moving back into some open mic, and Dito, I'm not even gonna.
It's Catherine.
So we have Catherine Ventura all the way from the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
Upper.
Thank you, Tim. I'm gonna move this right back. Go. Am I okay, Doodle?
Yeah.
So I take part in a wonderful event that the Hudson Valley Museum of Contemporary Art features each year, where they invite poets to write about works in their current exhibition, whatever it is. It's an extraordinary collection, and then they feature works with a theme each year. So this is the 4th year I participated. And it's not a poem about the work, but it's a poem in response to the work I chose, which was this beautiful sculpture by Tony Moore The theme of the show this year was war. And this was the least scary thing in the show, which is why I chose it. It was absolutely gorgeous, large. And so this poem is in response to that. And I want to particularly specify that I wrote this poem 3 weeks before the earthquake. So
okay.
it's called Tectonics, but it was not inspired by the earthquake. It was inspired by this. Did everyone feel the earthquake?
Yes.
It's crazy, right? So it's called Tectonics. When the dozens of plates of the planet shift, they fold and fault, gliding and grinding, facing off, denser, heavier slabs, advancing, slip forcing under lighter plates and coercing them up. Then, inevitably, grinding and gliding apart again as molten mantle elements erupt in the void carved between them through rough and rocky layers that barely contain Earth's tense and turning core. Massive continental plates, the 7 casualties of Pangaea's triple fissure, push up against each other, locking equal horns, colliding, erupting, fracturing, until they crumble upwards, forced into new contours, fold mountains and ravines, then slowly, once again, retreating. And when, with time, a new plate advances to conquer, rolling forcefully over a sea-deep hot spot, a plume of hot mantle may shoot up, piercing the plate like a dagger, leaving a line of poxed and ragged seagrass-clad volcanoes, eroded monuments to Pyrrhic victories, and to uncalmable forces and compulsion, fracturing, colliding, erupting, and once again withdrawing. Tectonic, from tektonikos, building, and yet Scylla separates, Charybdis boils, bubbles, and swallows. Pangaea splits. Magma came first, then humans took form, shaped from its dust, sharing its archaic elements, oxygen, calcium, sodium, potassium. And could it be that it's that atomic memory that compels us too to keep erupting, colliding, and fracturing? Our own ever-shifting forces, grinding and splitting, leaving drawn and redrawn over time after time, fissures, lacuna, and molten seed.
Aaron?
Thank you very much, Catherine. Wonderful work, and I really want to get up to that museum.
It's
I've never
amazing.
been there. Next time you go, maybe we can
Yeah.
It's
tag
amazing.
along.
It's amazing.
Okay, and we have one more open mic reader for tonight. We have Aaron Pachoogian. Come on up.
Hello, I'm just going to read one poem I translated from a 19th century Armenian poet named Raphael Pachoogian. He's one of the most popular of the classic Armenian poets. I have a fraught relationship with my heritage poetry, and that I partly make my living as a translator. This is the only poem I've ever translated from Armenian, and the reason for that is that I have to sit down and prepare myself to read Armenian poetry because it's so emotionally overwhelming. Like, I'm scared to read it, and a lot of the classics of Armenian poetry, they scare me. Like this poem. When Armenia lost the Nagorno-Karabakh in September to Azerbaijan, I was upset, and I expressed my concern by translating this poem. It's a short poem. The introduction is going to be longer, but I feel like I got to set it up. This poem was written in the mid-1870s during what's called the Russo-Turkish War. I only say that because I just want you to know this poem is disturbing, but it was written 20 years before the first massacre and 40 years before the genocide, and it still just scares the hell out of me. And so I just want to say, like, this poem is disturbing, and I know that, and the author Raphael Pachoogian knew that, and he did it on purpose. All right, it's called The New Generation. When mama, with a shove and holler, provides a child, and it's a boy, let papa give the little crawler a knife as his first toy. Instead of pick-up sticks, a wee wood horsey, or some other trifle, let his reward for standing be a very accurate rifle. When he is school-aged, teachers must instill the longhand script of swords. After he learns to slash and thrust, the kid can squint at words. It's fine to read and be well-versed. Writing can be a useful skill. But when you test him, let the first question be, can you kill? This is the only way to save Armenia from dependency. Playing the beggar grates on brave grown-ups who would be free. I know.
Very powerful stuff, and thank you so much for talking through it. We're so fortunate to have such a great crew of open mic readers tonight. Thank you guys so much for stepping up and sharing. We're going to close with somebody I need my notes for. And no glasses. I think we're continuing right along with the theme of Armenia.
Yes.
Perhaps tonight we have Aida Zilelian. She's a first-generation American Armenian writer, educator, and storyteller from Queens, New York. I think it was easier for Zilka to get here tonight than it was for Aida to come from Queens. She is the author of The Legacy of Lost Things, recipient of the Zilelian Literary Award. She has been performing at storytelling events in New York City, Montreal, and upcoming LA. Oh, fantastic. She has also been featured in the Huffington Post, NPR's Takeaway, among other reading series and print outlets. Her short story collection, These Hills Were Meant for You, was shortlisted for the Catherine Ann Porter Prize in Short Fiction, and her short story, The Piano, won first prize in the Lighthouse Weekly Contest. Oh, so we've been published by the same venue. Fantastic. They didn't give me a prize. She is currently working on completing her short story collection, Where There Can Be No Breath at All, and we're so happy to have her here tonight for her first visit.
Thank you. I'm going to put this aside. I can project, so I don't think I'm going to need the microphone. Thank you, Tim and Dio, for having me. I used to run a reading series in Queens. I know the effort and heart that goes into it. It's so much more work than anyone realizes. Thank you all for being here. I am going to read, in honor of Genocide Awareness Month, a short poem at the end. I hope that's okay. But I am going to start with an excerpt from my novel, All the Ways We Lie, that was released in January. It is a contemporary novel about an Armenian family in Queens, New York. And as far as I know, there aren't any contemporary novels. A lot of our novels, unfortunately, center around the atrocities of the genocide. So this book has a matriarch who is very complicated, and 3 daughters, and a stepfather who's trying to make it good at the end of the day. In this particular scene that I'm going to read, Azad is the youngest, and this is a flashback of her thinking back at her sister Kohad and Kohad's dynamic with the mother. So this is technically a flashback, but it's going to sound like it's in real time. And so here we are. The gaping age difference between her and Kohad blurred her memory. Though in Azad's recollection, there was a defining moment of when it had all started. the day Kohad had brought home a guitar. Before then, Kohad had played the piano, music she composed. Some of them were songs she sang. Azad didn't realize until years later that her sister only played when their mother wasn't home, though she never understood why. From behind Kohad's bedroom door, Azad heard the soft strumming of chords, some discordant and others light and lovely. Gently, she pushed the door open, drifted in, and sat on the edge of Kohad's bed. "Where'd you get the guitar?" she asked. "My friend. She just bought a new one, so she gave this to me," said Kohad. "I'm thinking of playing a show. There's a little cafe on Avenue B downtown, but first I have to learn to play this," she said, clumsily attempting a chord. "Can I come?" asked Azad. "I don't think they'll let 10-year-olds into bars," Kohad said, leaned over and kissed her cheek. "When you're older." She extended the guitar to Azad, held down the strings, and let her pluck at them. "How about if Mom and Dad bring me?" asked Azad. "I highly doubt it," said Kohad. "There's no way." "Why?" "Because, trust me," said Kohad, "I don't even know when it'll happen anyway. I should have started playing this a long time ago. Who learns how to play at 24? I'm too old." "I don't think so," said Azad. At the end of the meal that evening, Azad decided to test Kohad's theory. "Guess what? Kohad's going to play a show," she said. "Yeah? What show?" Lucine asked. She's the middle sister, still fishing out pieces of stewed tomato from her bulgur pilaf. "You mean with the guitar? That's cool." "At a cafe," Azad continued. Their mother glanced at Kohad, frowning. "Which one?" Lucine asked. "It's nothing," Kohad said, nudging Azad's foot under the table, a warning for her to stop. Gabriel returned from the kitchen with a second helping of food. "Who's performing?" "Kohad," said Azad. "Will you take me to see her when she plays?" Gabriel dove into his meal and shrugged. "Sure," he said. "Where?" "What show is this exactly?" "Takuhi," the mother finally spoke. "It's nothing," Kohar said. "I'm learning how to play guitar. I'm going to figure out my songs from the piano and sing." Takuhi rolled her eyes, scoffing. "You think it's so easy to learn an instrument? What show is this?" Kohar let her fork drop with a clatter. "There is no show. I didn't say anything was actually happening." She turned to Azad and widened her eyes. If there was," she said, exiting with her plate, "I don't see what the big deal would be anyway." "You don't see the big deal," her mother replied. "Why don't we all grab an instrument and learn how to play then? You think it's so easy? Who's coming to this show anyway?" Kohad, not having left the room, turned around. "I said there is no show. This is ridiculous. Azad walked in while I was playing guitar, and I mentioned I wanted to learn how to play, and I'd sing a few songs at a cafe. That's it, okay?" She stopped abruptly and then turned around. "And if I was to play a show, what would be the big deal? What do you care? I barely play the piano when you're home because I know you don't like it." Azad, sensing her mother's fury, hoped Kohad would disappear into her room. Relieved, she heard the creak of her bedroom door closing. "Poor girl," Takuhi crowed loudly. "She doesn't get to play the piano." Kohad's door flew open and she came back in. "I don't. And you kept it in tune when you were taking lessons years ago, but once you stopped playing, it didn't matter to you anymore. I still play even though it sounds like shit." "Then maybe it's your playing," Takuhi spat back. She settled back in her seat, wearing a look of disgust. Kohad was stunned. "Why would you say that? Why do you say such mean things?" She stared at Takuhi, her face contorted with hurt. Gabriel sighed and left for the kitchen. Lucine slinked away, tiptoeing down the hallway. Azad's chest burned with the longing to hug her sister. Kohar stood over Takuhi, the moment frozen and sealed. Finally, she turned and went to her room. Upon her door closing, Takuhi spoke one more time. "And what makes you think you can sing?" she said. "Mom!" Azad burst. She buried her head in the crook of her arm and began sobbing. All they could hear from the dining room was the strum of guitar strings from Kohar's room. It was several weeks later that Kohar came home from work early. At the time, she was completing her master's in creative writing and working full-time at a publishing house in the city. Usually, she returned home late and no one would see her until the following morning when she was getting ready for work. They were all sitting in the living room, her mother, Gabriel, and Lucine, and Azad finishing their homework. Kohar sat down in the dining room chair and watched them silently. "I want to tell you something important," she said. Takuhi, sitting on the couch, and flipping through channels did not break her gaze from the television. What is it? I went to see an apartment today. I'm going to be moving out in a few months, said Kohad. Azad remembers still how her sister had gripped the sides of the dining room chair as if she expected to fall off the seat. Silence. Lucien was absorbed in a textbook. Gabriel took a sip of his coffee and cleared his throat. It's not far. Astoria. It's a one-bedroom and about a 10-minute drive away, she said. Takuhi muted the television and kept her eyes fixed on the screen. Mom, can you say something? I'm hoping it's not as big a deal as I thought it would be. I'm almost 24. Finally, Takuhi looked at Kohad and hurled that the remote control across the room. It crashed against the wall, scattering batteries underneath the console. If you leave this house, I'll never speak to you again, Takuhi said. Mom. Azad dared not look up, did not dare to move. She could already sense Kohad's face stricken with shock, her tears. If you leave this house, I'll never speak to you again, Takuhi repeated. This is family. You are part of this family. And if you leave, it's only 10 minutes away, Kohad said. How long should I live here? I stayed for college because you didn't want me to go anywhere. I'm getting my master's and working a full-time job. You want me to live here until I get married? Yes, Takuhi hissed. Yes, I want you to live here with your family. What if I don't get married? What if I don't want to? What if I do but don't find the right person for a long time? I don't care what you want. You're ruining the family by doing this. You are fracturing this, Takuhi screamed, pointing wildly to each of them, who like statues stayed in obeisance. I'm going to say this one last time. If you leave here, I don't ever want to see you again. Never. How could you say this, Kohad yelled, now standing up. How could you leave? Look at the upset you're causing now. All because you want what you want, and the rest of us have to deal with it. I just came in here to tell you I wanted to move out, Kohad argued. I'm not causing. Yes, you are. Takuhi thundered back. Yes, you are. Get the hell out of my face. I don't want to look at you. Kohad would have moved out sooner, but the apartment she wanted was all she could afford, and it wouldn't be ready to move into for 3 months. For the duration of that time, they all watched in silence as Takuhi's brutal rage unraveled mercilessly. One morning, she randomly threw a cup of hot coffee across the kitchen where Kohad was standing. Takuhi cooked only enough dinner for the 4 of them, removed Kohad's wet clothes from the washer on laundry days, threw away her belongings if they were lying around the apartment, and worst of all, did not utter one word to Kohad since their awful argument. In essence, their mother carried on as if Kohad did not exist at all, and not one of them, not even Gabriel, spoke up. It was a Saturday morning, the day Kohad finally moved out. Takuhi, Gabriel, and Lucien had left the house, and Azad was sitting on the couch in the parlor. Kohad was in her bedroom, numbering and labeling boxes in anticipation of the moving truck that would be arriving soon. Azad could hear the squeak of the marker against cardboard, and then the screech of packing tape, and then the soft melody of the piano. When she looked over, she saw her sister sitting on the piano bench, running her fingers over the keys. She began playing a song that Azad must have heard her entire life, a song Kohad had written when she was a teenager. Azad sat in the stillness of the apartment, the gentle morning light in the parlor, listening to her sister play the piano one last time. She knew the words but didn't dare sing them under her breath. She realized the irony of the words and the prophecy in them. The song was about their mother, and Kohad had written it 10 years ago when she was only 14. Azad would not allow herself to cry. It felt shallow in the wake of her sister's leaving. She could only imagine Kohad's pain. Hey. Azad looked up at her sister and tried to smile, the tears bubbling to the surface. She couldn't find her voice. It felt as if the pain in her throat would strangle her. Kohad came and sat next to her. Just us, huh? She asked. She put her arm around Azad and drew her near. She pressed her lips against the top of Azad's head. I'm sorry, she said. I know you're upset. Azad managed to nod. Do you think I'm leaving the house because I don't love you? Kohad asked. Azad shook her head emphatically. She felt Kohad's relief as she exhaled. Good, because I love you. I know, the words croaked out. I'm just worried, Azad began. She took a breath. I'm worried that you don't feel loved, she said. That you don't think we love you. I know you do, Kohar said, her voice now shaking. I know. Had she been able to capture that moment in her life, Azad would look upon it as a photograph of her and her sister sitting in the empty parlor, hugging each other, bathed in the bright morning light. She would feel as if her love was not enough to make up for anything. After all, what solace could a 10-year-old offer? Azad would never know that in the many years Kohar had lived with them up to that very moment, she had never truly felt loved. So, my grandfather Garabed was orphaned in the Armenian genocide. There is not one Zilelian left. This morning, I had the privilege of speaking at Fordham University's Lincoln Center as part of a genocide awareness and prevention program. And so this poem is for my grandfather. And after he was orphaned in the genocide, he ended up in France, he killed a Turk, ended up in jail, wound up in Romania during Ceausescu's communist regime, where he lived a very, very difficult life, selling and giving things away on the black market. And I'm contextualizing it because you know how poetry is, right? You read it once and it's almost like tasting it. You have to keep reading it. So I'm contextualizing it so the beginning of it makes a little sense to you. And I thank you for listening. This poem is in honor of my grandfather and is in honor of everybody who has suffered, the generations, the generational trauma, and what we carry with us, even if we weren't there to witness it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing me to read this last piece. Garabed, Bucharest, early 1950s. Kashkaval cheese, a box of Karpati cigarettes, a pound of sugar in your cellar. Men wept openly, slipping bills of lei hidden in their sleeves, clutching your arm. You shook them off, pressed the bills into their chests, and sent them away. Ceausescu would have picked his teeth clean with the key to your cell. My father told me you killed a Turk. You had watched your family burn, tied at the wrists. The Ottomans riding away, you hid on the roof. Your mind collapsed. I am your orphan. America is a planet of illusions. It is too much to bear. Chrome cars, powder blue, and women in slim dresses, colors that make you forget your last country, sepia memories. America reminds you you are an alien to yourself if you can't remember even a field from your childhood. America is like strolling beneath the sun as if it belonged to you. Your heart is the same story. It is too much to bear. The cadence of its pulse, a broken metronome. Where is the mended root if the soil was ash? In the feel of your dark eyes, a circle of fire. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. That was beautiful, quite moving. I had so many associations, but the first one that occurred to me, and Dito, I wonder if this happened with you as well. I don't know how many people know the movie Next Stop Greenwich Village, where Shelley Winters plays a Jewish mother, and her son is just about to move from Brooklyn to Greenwich Village, and she responded similarly to the remote control grower. There's kind of a hilarity in that at the same time that it's so poignant. Thank you so much. Wonderfully rendered scene. Can't wait to get the book. It's for sale in the back, everyone. And now we have a few minutes to do some Q&A with our features. So maybe we can bring up a couple of chairs and get you guys to sit down.
I can just bring
this up.
Yes,
Not a chair.
that's fine. Yeah. We'll take care of it, Zilka.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Mine didn't spill.
Oh.
It's okay.
And I am gonna grab this because it will spill. Okay.
Okay.
Make sure that the camera can.
And maybe we want to lower this a little bit.
Mhm.
Well, actually, it's still pretty good.
No, you push it back, Tim.
Push it back or go forward?
Do you want me to push the
Back
light
just so
that
you
it's
see
not
them more.
coming in your eyes?
You do it.
Are you uncomfortable?
I can move it. I can move it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Is that a bit better? That's on your eye?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This can't.
We love to get the audience involved, so if you guys have questions, please jump right in. But I'll just start with asking a question that kind of connects to certainly what you've read. And I wanted to also address I don't know if this was the offensive material that got us yanked off Facebook, but in your essay, the reference, Aida, to the parents not wanting the daughter to marry an American, and then I think the daughter goes ahead and does that anyway. Zilka, you too read about references to American culture. So I'm wondering if there's anything that you can point to that was, seductive but also conflicting about getting involved in American culture.
You mean as far as my writing in general, or you mean the book in general?
The book, your writing, your life. Was there a point where, was it Iggy and the Stooges, the American Bandstand, shopping at Macy's, or was anything, corrupting but seductive, whatever?
Okay.
You have a lot more to say.
I think because in general, my father being a marine engineer and having traveled widely, and both my mother and father having traveled together sometimes when their voyages took them around the world. I think they were very open in general to the world in general. So we had friends of all kinds and of all cultures, and they had friends from other countries. If they came to India, would visit us. So I don't think in any way there was a sort of hostility in any way towards America. And my dad would have stories of New York and friends he made here. But it's very interesting when I wanted to come to study in America, because my family had traveled, I guess because I was the baby of the house, and also because at a very young age I had suffered from polio, so I always was very sheltered, and I still deal with some of the residual effects of it. I think we just became very protective. But later, when I got married and both my husband and I wanted to come to the US, they were quite elderly by then, and I think they, even though they were like really happy for us to come here and start a new life, I think in many ways it broke their heart. So it was quite difficult. And even when I visited them as they grew older, but I did have this wonderful opportunity to have my very first book called Lands I Live In published here by the same press as published those two beautiful books. She was the first publisher to publish me in the US, and that was so fantastic. And I was able to, at that time I was willing to share my book with my family. And I actually had a book launch at Oxford Bookstore on Park Street in Calcutta, with both of them there, and my siblings happened to be in town. So I think that was a really moving moment for them and for me. So I don't think they were upset in that way, but I think just that I was always lived with them. And that break was like very sharp, as well as the fact that they were elderly by then. But I think they celebrated, what I was doing here. And if my father knew that I had written a book about the Ben Israel, I think he's doing cartwheels wherever he is. Because I would resist. I'm not religious, we were not religious, and so I said, what? I don't want to go for what Passover, what, whatever. So I think right now he's like, And I'm actually invited to a Seder tomorrow. So he's going to be like really laughing up there. And
Didn't Seder already happen?
yes, but this community of Ben Israel in these areas are getting together. And so for the very first time, I'm actually being with a Ben Israel group of people.
Here in
So
New
I'm a
York?
little nervous actually.
Oh, wow.
It Upper East Side, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
So that family is hosting.
Wow.
And they're trying to get people together so that the younger generations also don't forget their heritage, because it's and one way my book is also a way to keep this alive and keep the memory of my parents and grandparents alive. So, I don't know if that answered your question, but that took us on a journey.
Yeah. I know for me it's so different because I was born and raised here, but it was, thank God my parents divorced when I was 13, because if they didn't, I don't think I would have been able to listen to Metallica, right? Because when you're raised by two parents who want to keep you like that, okay, I'm gonna tell, here's like a typical my mom thing to do, okay? What was that movie, Porky's? Remember that movie? Oh, okay, listen. She thought it was Porky Pig. She took me, and when she realized that it was a rated R movie, I mean, dry as hell. She saw that it was Porky's, and instead of any other parent, I mean, I have an 11-year-old, you want to assuage that disappointment and go, oh, let's see what else there is, or maybe I'll take you for ice cream. She just about face and just took me home. And that was that's just how my mom was, right? And my dad was so happy to be here because he left Romania, and America he even volunteered and served in the army. There are pictures of him peeling potatoes. He was so happy to be in this country. My mom left again, they did not, the reason they moved to Rhode Island, that's where they ended up, is because my Aunt Seta, the youngest, the baby of 5, had such a bad heart that the only surgery that she could have gotten the surgeon was in Providence. Wow. So they left. And so the way my mom explains her community there, imagine your whole block family, everybody, right? You're going in and out of everyone's house. Yeah. That's just what it was like. So my mom never had to learn how to socialize, which is why to this day she's so she doesn't know how to talk to new people because she never had to learn that skill. And so they kept me in such a bubble up until the age of 12, 13 in Queens, New York, that there are references to American culture that I do not understand. I hear about it, National Lampoon's Family. I guess I've never seen that movie, right? But once 13 happened and they divorced, it was like Metallica and Megadeth and Guns N' Roses. The posters went up. I'm in combat boots. I'm wearing black lipstick. That's what I became, because finally someone the can had been shaken and it was popped, right? And so that was sort of, I wanted to talk more about my experience of, it was unusual, and I did not hang out with my Armenian friends after a while because their parents were together and they married nice Armenian boys and girls, and they had nice Armenian families. I mean, I hear about them, and that's what they decided to do. And I felt such a stark difference and alienation. They didn't do it. It was all here. I made myself feel alienated. They didn't do anything to me. And then I departed. And then I started playing shows in New York City downtown area. So CB's, it was just me and a guitar. CB's, the Spiral, the Meow Mix, the C-Note. I did that whole circuit for 10 years. So it's a really weird story that I have, because most American Armenians do not have this story. they're not going to have this story. So I didn't answer your question. I know I did.
Well, I hope that you were able finally to catch up with Porky's. Perhaps not as moving as Porky's 2. An important touchstone to American culture. How about somebody else?
But talking about American culture, we grew up in India with British and American culture and music.
Yeah.
So we were at concerts, we were doing, and then many of the bands from the US and Britain would visit us. The British Council, the USIS would bring down amazing people, right? So I think part of that was I was already, immersed in a lot of that. So I was very lucky to have such a wide range of interests that I could bring with me.
Mm-hmm. Please.
Yeah.
Zilka, how did you end up going from Maharashtra to Calcutta? Was your family all back in Maharashtra, or?
Yes, so Bombay is probably one of the cities that has the highest population of Venezuelan people. There's also Pune, which is Pune, Ahmedabad, which is in Gujarat, a little further north.
Mm-hmm.
My father being a marine engineer for many, many years with the India Steam Navigation Company. And around the time I was born, he was offered a shore job in Bombay. So I do have two siblings, older brother and a sister. They were in boarding school in Pune because my mother would often travel with my father, and in those days it was easy to travel. Now you can't get off in countries and just roam around. So they had an amazing time. So he was had a shore job in Bombay, and then he soon got a transfer to Calcutta as marine superintendent. So he headed the Office of Marine Engineers in Calcutta. So all our, everything was with the mercantile marine community.
I see, because
So
I was
grew up with that, yes.
recently there, and we went to a couple of the synagogues. I don't think
In
they're
Bombay?
not. No, actually in Calcutta, but those are not B'nai Israel.
Yes, those
They're-
are the Baghdadi Jewish synagogues, which are just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I will send Tim and Deedle a link to a recent article where there are several architects and sponsors who are redoing and bringing a lot of the old buildings that have gone to ruin.
They're beautiful. They're not being used anymore.
Yes.
But
in Bombay, there are other synagogues.
Yeah.
But the families like the Sassoons, who were very, very rich and did a lot of wonderful things for Mumbai, and all the way down to Southeast Asia. They had an empire, the Baghdadi Jews, because they came with the trade routes in 17th and 18th century. So they were like the youngest. So the Ben Israel and the Kochini Jews from Kerala, they came in several waves actually. And what people don't realize is that the Cochin synagogue, the Pardesi synagogue, is really a Portuguese synagogue, but the real Kerala Jews have their own synagogue. And back in the day, they were not allowed into the Portuguese synagogue. So there's a lot to peel back there.
That's the synagogue with the beautiful tiles.
The beautiful clock tower and all of that. So most Western tourists are taken only to that synagogue. So now I tell everybody, go around the corner. There are other synagogues. Check them out. For the Malabari Jews, they're often called Malabari Jews rather than the Portuguese Jews. But the beautiful synagogues in Calcutta, which I have visited, and perhaps you, Tim, need to visit too. So thank you for that question.
I actually am curious about how you got into writing. Did you know, was there like a bing moment maybe when you were children, or did it come later in life? Just this thing to, I want to write, I want to be a writer, or I just want to write. Maybe we could start with you.
I mean, like every writer, you're going to probably say the same thing. I always wrote. I always wrote. The marble notebooks filled one after the other. I really did. And I think every writer is going to tell you that, honestly, because it's not that it's not that you should, it's that you can't not.
Yeah.
It's like, if I don't write every day at this point, I feel like, and I said this once when I was, it's like I'm keeping secrets from my best friend. I get itchy inside if I'm not writing. I get really uncomfortable. And it's not my obligation to my craft, it's not that. This like high-minded. No, I really just want to write. This is for me. Like, I'm here for me to write. And I've always written, even when I sort of like moved away from it after my master's to some extent. I was writing lyrics, and then I discovered David Sedaris, and then I had a field day with my family and got into trouble, which is why I'm marketing as fiction. I still got into trouble, but that's a whole other conversation.
But are you like how do you say? Are you the only writer in your family? Do you think that maybe it might have come down from
I'm the only writer in my family that I know of. Music different, because I play piano and guitar, and I've been composing for a very long time, right? And that is definitely part of both, like my mother's musicality on her side. Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Yeah. And
all right, so now I'm going to say just the opposite. Because when I grew up and wrote little ditties and stories, and I was a great reader because the books were encouraged, and both sides, my father's side of the family was highly educated, and they were researchers and professors, and actually two of the books that a lot of scholars draw on today, The Jews of India and The Ben Israel of India, were written by Benjamin J. Israel. And he is actually my granduncle, and I've never said this in public before because I always feel this is my lineage, but I don't think I felt it so deeply till now after writing this book. And so at the back of the book where I write, I've listed a lot of these wonderful researchers, and I met with Joan Rowland the last time I was in New York for the IAEC festival, and she's written a blurb for my book, and I didn't realize how closely she worked with Benjamin J. Israel in Bombay, and it really moved me because I just felt in some way I had come full circle. And I think this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly. But coming back to my being a writer, I just played with words and read poems here and there. But I never considered myself a writer. Nobody else did, because unless you were born into a highly educated family, kind of elitist or with professors, nobody thought they could be writers. So I knew I would be a teacher because I was into literature and I was coaching people. I did become an English teacher. I did do my master's English and comparative literature later. And I did get published in India in small journals here and there. And I never thought of myself as a writer. I was writing, and I was encouraged by a lot of professors who read my work here and there. But it wasn't, plus you go back, you're basically trying to put food on the table. So it was just teaching and work and doing tuition in the evening. I don't know if you're familiar with how you coach kids at home for a little extra money, in the evenings. So it was hard work. But of course, the reading never stopped, and the studying and all of that never stopped. And then when we came to the US in 1997, we came to Chicago, and I had the opportunity to just go to endless readings everywhere. Toni Morrison in Hyde Park, my God, I just wanted to lie down on the floor. And she read from the pulpit. So my hair is standing up even now just talking about it. So I just got this wonderful opportunity to see Gwendolyn Brooks. And not once, several times, because they would have, what was that little studio in the south side where they would have readings like this. And Haki Mahabuti and the whole gang would be there. And I was learning. I mean, these are people I didn't know just off the top of my head, but that's when my whole education, like in American literature, not that I didn't know of some, but this was like the real, getting absorbed. And then I started going to writing workshops, but not writing. I would listen in and things. And then we moved to Michigan. And that was like death to me because we were out in the suburbs. I didn't know how to drive, and we were in a very, very white community. So I learned how to drive, and I gave my husband lots of white hairs. I had no idea how to control a car, but I learned so that I could go to the library. And then I did some workshops there by poets who would come and teach. And then I got more interested, and I began to do more serious writing programs and got published. And then somebody said, do an MFA. And I said, what's an MFA?
Oh my God.
And then people said, no, University of Michigan has this great program that's paid for 2 years. I thought, oh my God, this is never going to happen. But somewhere down the line it did. So somewhere, somebody was giving me a pass. So it's been a long journey, but it's just wonderful being here. So thank you.
Catherine has a question.
Yes.
I have a question. So you both write in English, right?
Yes.
But you both are fluent in your
Yes.
other language.
I
So
read and write
beautiful.
in Armenian as
Yeah.
well.
But so when you
That's
write
amazing.
when you
That's
write these when you write your book and when you write your poetry, do you write in English or are you thinking in a second language and translating?
I mean, I'm thinking in English, but I will tell you that sometimes my writing the phrasing is backwards, and it's because my first language was really Armenian. There was no TV allowed in the house. Everything was Hayeren Chosid, which means speak Armenian. My mother wouldn't even answer me in English, and so sometimes my phrasing is awkward, and my friends laugh at me, and I'm like, I did it without even realizing it. Yeah.
Oh, but that's amazing because that's so much part of who you are and you know the language that well. For me, I think, in India, many of us grow up with several languages at the same time. And English was always spoken at home. And my grandmother read these beautiful books to me, and, they came from a family of teachers. So I think I was just exposed so much to literature at an early age. But my mother and my grandmother, my parents and my grandmother spoke in Marathi. I did too when I was little. But then you start growing up and then they speak to you in Marathi and you answer in English, So I can still understand Marathi. I can't speak it as well. But living in Calcutta after that, I speak Bengali and very well. Not very well, but colloquially, yes. So I can do Hindi, Bengali, and a very little bit of Marathi, which is actually supposed to be my mother tongue. But my grandmother was educated in a school that was run by British women for native women. But they still got a very wonderful education. And she spoke and wrote what is called Shuddha Marathi, which means pure Marathi. So she wasn't fooling around like spoken Marathi. She actually studied the language, but then then moved in with us, and she was brought up in a more also in a very highly educated family. And I won't go into the history of her father and mother because that's a whole other chapter.
I think I phrased the question poorly because I didn't mean how did your English get so good. I meant are there wonderful elements from your other languages that inflect what you're writing in magic ways? It was like
if you read some of my, I have several poems in my book, especially the early ones, depending on what the subject matter is. I'll have a poem that has Hindi and English, and of course it's written in English, but there'll be Hindi phrases and Bengali phrases. So there's one poem in this particular book called Kauli Haddi. Does anybody know what Haddi means? Bone. Haddi. Kauli means tender or soft. So in the chicken, the breastbone, which is very tender and sweet, we used to all fight for that piece. So whoever got it, and my dad would like break it up. So that's all. But then I say deshi chicken, which means country chicken. So there are words both in Hindi and Bengali that are sprinkled through. And that comes naturally. I haven't thought like, oh, let me put a Hindi word. But that's part of like you know, that flow comes and goes. But I think because my education has been in not just convents, but in like really excellent colleges, and you know, we studied the Brits, so it's like you know the Romantics and the Victorians and Shakespeare. So I think because of that background, my language is so strong.
Yeah, if you read the novel, you're gonna have sprinkles of Armenian words that just, and everybody laughs. They crack up so hard because they can relate to it. The Armenian community, they get such a big kick out of it. And for me, it's just the way we talk. It's that same idea. I didn't have to think about it, and I'm so happy that my community can really absorb those moments. It's such a thrill for them to see. It's like no one knows Armenians. I mean, now we do, but so it's still special for them. Yeah.
And in India, because there's always this mix of languages, there's that English. That's why I laughed about it at the end. But if you listen to any program, like a radio program for young people especially, the mix of words is just amazing. And the energy and I mean, it's just lovely. I mean, even if you don't understand, however, it's just fun to like listen to these young people on the radio.
I think that's a good spot to call it an evening.
Take a picture with the readers, and again, there are books in the back, and you can have a short conversation with the writers and buy some books
And I'd be
before you
happy
take
to
off.
sign them.
Can someone take a picture of the four of us?
Yes,
I'll give someone my phone.
Oh, okay, thanks.
I just want you all.
Put you in.
Can you bring the water?
Yeah.
I just leave it here.
You can actually give it to Catherine also. Sorry, Catherine.
Sure, you take this.
Oh, well, and then I'll put a picture of the three of you.
But a lot of people reading it.
All right, I'm gonna do mine first. So look here. 1, 2, 3. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Someone else.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I dabble.
Okay.
Check and say.
Let's start getting stuff together.
Oh, did you take one too already?
Oh, it's not work.
Oh, wait.
I think you have mine. Somebody has mine. Probably you. It's all right. We'll let you go.
Thank you.
Almost like check writing.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so inspired. I'm gonna pick up my bass tonight. Rolling right tonight. I can't wait.
I think I have Delia's.
I think I have you. I think
That would be awkward.
Oh, what happened? Oh, we forgot to stop it.